Welcome all, Raymond for Stream Gamers. We are here in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, and I'm looking at just kind of giving a bit of a state of affairs of Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 in comparison to the release, let's say, of 2020. So there is no question that the release date when 2024 came out, it wasn't good. I don't think anybody can debate that. I don't think we can color code it into something different than what it was. It was a fail. I think Microsoft and Asobo understand that, but it was a fail. The mishandling of leading to the release, knowing what this release was going to be, suggested to me that a higher level of preparation could have taken place. However, and I speak based on my experience and only my experience. I first of all, we'll start this off with, I have a Ryzen 7 5800 X3D processor. I have 32 gigabytes of DDR4 3600 megahertz memory, I believe it is. I have a 4080 graphics card, and an NVMe, Samsung NVMe M.2 drive. It's a liquid cooled computer as well. So that's basically the specs, and I bring that up because I want to make sure that as I go through this, that you understand what my specs are, and what it might relate into your specs. Now, I've seen a lot of reviews, performance reviews with computers considerably lower spec than mine, being able to run the sim. I've also seen some considerably higher spec than mine also being able to run the sim. And there is a lot of issues with the simulator. So let's back up a moment and think about the release of 2020, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. It was anticipated for months and months and months on end for myself. I was hyped about it. I was excited about it. And finally the release came. Because we weren't streaming all of the data, we didn't have the error that we had in 2024, but we had our fair share of issues. People not knowing how to set up the controls, not being able to download the sim. I was one of those. I've got my purchase through the store, and I couldn't download it. It would start to download and it would stop and start to download and stop again. And that went on and off for, best of my memory, that went on and off for hours. And I think it was the next day, I finally was able to get into what I perceived was the queue in order for me to get it downloaded. So I waited, basically what I'm saying is I waited a day in order for me to be able to get it. Well, how does that differ from here? Well, I waited about 8 hours before I could get it downloaded and get into the sim. Frustrating in both cases, yes, but I guess I'm maybe a forgiving guy, and I'm willing to understand that what they've released is amazing on the face of it. And unfortunately, we live in a world where gaming relies on their consumers to help test and troubleshoot their products upon their release. Show me a game out there today that has not done that. Show me a game that has released and it's all shiny and new and there's no issues right from day one. I don't play every game, but I haven't downloaded or played a game, and I've played a lot of them, that hasn't been the case. Not one game have I ever purchased has it been perfect out of the box. Granted, I haven't paid the amount of money that I paid for this, but Every game that I've ever downloaded, that I've ever played, has always had some level of issues, problems, and so forth. Okay, so let's think about where we are today in the sim. Released in November 19th. This date is December 5th as I'm recording this. And so, we've got just over 2 weeks of the sim running. And where are we at with it? What's happening in the world? Well, I did a bit of a test, some testing. And I tested in London, I tested in New York, I tested in LA, and I tested in Vancouver. What I was testing for was population. 2020 has a considerably higher population base than 2024, which was very surprising to me because I really thought 2024 was going to be the sim that everybody would migrate to. But they didn't. There's if you go to LAX, you'll find 3, 4, 5 people flying around. In 2024, you go to LAX in 2020, you'll find 30 people flying around or more. And that same thing repeats itself. So in terms of the user base, 2020 is still a very viable sim. And for those people that are watching this, and they're saying to themselves they're on the fence whether they should or shouldn't buy it, I'm not suggesting you should or you shouldn't. I'm just simply stating facts based on what I have experienced up to this point. I couldn't get the sim downloaded and logged into, and I messed around with it for a good solid 8 hours. I believe it released my time around 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get a chance to get to it till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I tried to download it. I couldn't. From about 1 o'clock in the afternoon through till about 8 o'clock-ish, I had all the same problems that everybody else did. The gray screen, you're in the queue, 97%, but never complete, and the list goes on and on. Then I had all of those same things. And finally, after one incessant restart of my computer thinking that would fix it, luck were to have it. I believe it was around 9 o'clock in the evening Central Time. I clicked on the button to download it, and it started downloading. And it wasn't long after, and we arrived at the screen that we are at right now. And so, yeah, I was frustrated. But it was 9 hours of frustration. I would have been well-founded to do what I said I was going to do in the first place, and that is, just shut it down, go do something else, get back to it tomorrow morning and see what's what. So since that moment, I have had virtually zero issue with the sim. And when I say virtually, I mean virtually. I don't mean none. Has there been some issues? Yes. Periodically, I lose the cursor. What that's about, I don't know. For me, the fix is to drag it over. I have 4 monitors. For me, the fix is to drag it over to another monitor, bring it back, and then the cursor reappears itself. In the SDK, it's a very prevalent thing. It happens a lot. I do content creation as well, like scenery and so forth like that. And so in the SDK, it's a bit of a pain. It's frustrating, and especially I can see for those developers that are using the SDK, trying to get their stuff put together so that they can get it released, so we can get to what is the next thing, which is the marketplace. Now, Microsoft made a statement a few days before the release. Exactly how many days, I can't remember, but they did make on a live stream. They didn't make it very public, and I wish they had done that. But on a live stream, they had made a statement. Jorg had made a statement that, I'm going to paraphrase some of this because these weren't his exact words, but as I remember it, it was something to the effect that there were some issues with some of the developers not being able to get their wares ready for the store in time. Others were having problems. And rather than release the store with some people's wares but not the other people's wares, they didn't. what they did is they said, well, we're going to hold off. And if I remember correctly, his statement was they were going to hold off for a week or two after the release. And it might have been 2 to 3 weeks is what his statement actually might have been. So here we are in the marketplace, and those that have purchased everything. Now, let's not get this wrong. He didn't state that you couldn't download your already purchased items. So if you had items that were already purchased in 2020, those items would be transferable into 2024. And I have proof of that in the fact that I have all of my 2020 stuff right here. All of it is here. It's all been streamed over. I want to say it took a day and change to make that happen, which I found weird that it took, that there was that time frame that was necessary in order to kind of migrate it all over. But it's all here. And so the marketplace is closed to new purchases, but it's not closed to those things that you currently own already. Now, I haven't purchased a lot of things through the Microsoft Store, so again, for myself, it hasn't really affected me. For those that it has affected, I'm terribly sorry that it has affected you, that you have not been able to purchase, the latest and greatest and the newest aircraft. However, I don't think the developers were ready for this either. I feel like Microsoft rushed the SDK to the developers. I don't think they gave the developers enough time with the SDK to put their stuff together. I'm not a part of the development team, and as such, I did not get the SDK until the day of the release, which turned out the next day. I took an airport that I have created in 2020 and I put it into 2024, and it was mostly there. It wasn't all there, but it was mostly there. I was offered an opportunity to do an update or an upgrade to it, which I did, and then it was mostly not there. And in that update, through the SDK, when I regenerated or rebuilt the package was now lost. It was damaged. I basically had to rebuild it. So if that happened to me, I'm assuming similar incidences like that have happened to other developers. Now, I should have heeded the warning and backed it up, and I didn't. So that's on me. All right. So that's the marketplace. The career. So I've begun a career, and just to test it out to see, is it functional? Does it work? Does it do what they've told us it's going to do? And in general, it does. Now, I haven't advanced in the career by far. I think I've done a couple of flights and a couple of missions, maybe 1 or 2 missions, but it has progressed. I am able to progress to the amount that I intend to. I don't know that I'm going to do a career mode, but I did it just to test it out to make sure, will it work? And it appears that it does work, right? So here's the missions. Here would be my next sorts of missions that I could do. And they're there and they work. So for those people that are having problems with the missions, again, I feel bad for you all that you're having these problems, but mine are working. And I know I'm going to say this a number of times, and I'm not suggesting to try to rub your noses into it or anything else. What I'm actually driving at is, I wonder, are there some expectations? Are there some external settings, features, options, programs that are inhibiting your experience? The other thing that can be said about this is, I watched the guy's YouTube video where he was doing a flight in Germany somewheres. I believe it was a short flight, and he was flying in to can't remember, but it was some regional airport in Germany, and he was landing his jet there, and the runway was all blotched out, and the graphics were terrible. Quite honestly, they were terrible. And I looked at that and I thought, wow, that's terrible. That's just terrible. So because he explained which airport he was landing at, where he took off from, and so forth and so on, he did this as a live stream. I wasn't far behind him in the live stream. I was maybe 30 minutes behind him, 40 minutes behind him in that live stream. I started up an A320 from where he took off. The graphics were fine. I flew to his arriving airport, touched down on the runway that he touched down on. The runway was fine. It wasn't all blotchy and that sort of thing. And I thought to myself, well, as he was complaining about this, how poor this was, I was thinking to myself, no, wait a minute. What is the internet speed? I have gigabyte internet, up and down gigabyte internet. I don't know what he has for internet, but I mean, we are streaming this data. When we purchased 2024, we're all aware that that's what we have to do. We have to be able to stream it, and if our stream is, our internet is not good, if it's not reliable, if it's, if there's other members in the household that are using large amounts of data which impacts you while you're playing your game, that isn't on 2024 Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. That's on us, because we knew this going into the purchase. This wasn't a secret from us. We were told this. We should have, to get the optimal, we should have 100 megabit per second. I believe that's the stat. So anyways, missions are working for me. Now, I will say this, in the Alpha Edition, I wanted to do my career mode at CKK7, which is the airport that my municipal airport, which is close to me. And I wanted to start it there, and it didn't work. And I was somewhat frustrated in the fact that they talked about you can pick any airport around the world, yet I'm unable to do that. Now, like where I can start my training at, not every airport was pickable. Did they make a decision to change that because of some reason? I don't know. Was there a problem there? I don't know. But I was not able to pick it. Did I not know what I was doing? There's a possibility as well. So I ended up picking my headquarters in some other region, just because I thought, let's go do it there. And it wasn't a big deal to me, but it might be to somebody else. So for those that are having that problem, I relate and I understand. For me, it wasn't a big deal that I wasn't able to pick the actual airport that I wanted to pick. It was a blip on the radar, mostly because this is really not terribly important to me, the career mode. At least it isn't today. So that leaves us to the challenges, activities, and the world photography. So the world photography, now, I haven't done this. I've watched a lot of videos, people complaining about not being able to get the shot, not being able to do this. And I got to tell you, if I was doing that and I was having these same problems, I would be frustrated as well. I heard a comment, a YouTube guy say, hey, this is by far a better shot over here than what they wanted me to take. And he was frustrated by that. And I thought, well, wait a minute. No. I appreciate that you like this view better, but the mission is this. And to complain that the view doesn't suit your taste seemed silly to me. They want you to do a very specific certain photo. Whether it's the best photo in the area, I don't think that's necessarily the driving force. I will likely not do any of this stuff because I'm not interested in it. It's not my thing. But I do know that I've seen a number of people do it, and it's worked out quite well for them. There is some things about the area in which you need to take these photos at that you need to understand. You need to understand some of the geography. You need to understand maybe even some of the history of that particular part of the world in order for you to actually understand the directions that you're being given. Hence, I'm not going to do it. So I don't have a lot to go on about this. I think it's a mixed bag. I do believe, like a lot of the problems in the sim, I believe there's some expectations that we as users have and how it should work rather than how it does work. And when it doesn't work the way we think it should work, we get frustrated rather than learn actually how it does work. And I'm seeing that quite a bit. I'm seeing that quite a bit from users complaining. I've seen videos where people have talked about, well, we're going to uninstall 2024 and we've just given up on it. It's just not accurate enough. It's the anomalies aren't right, and blah blah blah, and so on and so on. And to those people, I simply say, okay, I appreciate the fact that, you know, geographically it's not accurate enough. You're frustrated by cars driving on the water. You're frustrated by cars and trucks, you know, driving on the wrong side of the road. You're frustrated by trees growing out of buildings. I get all of that. From a visual perspective, I get all of that. I tend to agree. It is taking something away from the immersion of flying in this wonderful world that we have given to us. But to all those people that are feeling like that, I say to you, okay, if not 2020 or 2024, what else? Show me a sim that has a replication to the level that Microsoft 2020 or 2024 has. Show me another sim that has replicated the world as good as that, even with all of its errors. Because if you have one, please comment in the section. Let me and all the other members know that this simulator's world is by far more accurate in its entirety. And I suspect the creator of that sim will be inundated by a lot of people switching. I would also suggest it doesn't exist. And so for me, I find myself willing to accept some of these anomalies, willing to accept that my local community doesn't have photogrammetry data. It's all 2D. It looks decent, you know, from 2,000 feet in the air. It looks pretty good, you know, but get down on the ground, it looks terrible. But it's a flight simulator. We're intending to fly. At least for me, that's the way I see it. In terms of cars driving on the wrong side of the road, it's a flight simulator. It's not a car simulator. It's not a world simulator. It's a flight simulator. In the fact that they've been able to pretty much get all of the streets right, get your house kind of in the right part of the world, and have it sort of ish look like your actual house. I think that's amazing. I think if we only look back 5 or 6 years ago, and we think about what simulation looked like then, and we look at it what we see today, I think we're enormously blessed to be able to have some of the stuff that we actually have. I think Microsoft 2020 and 2024, they have learned a lot from 2020. Look at the default aircraft that they released to us for 2020, the jetliners. For example, the 787, the 747, they were terrible. By today's standards, they were terrible. They just didn't measure up. For my perspective, they didn't measure up. But look at the A310 that we have. If you haven't flown it, go fly it. Go fly the A321. Go fly the 737 MAX. Go fly some of these aircraft. They are amazing. And they all come with the sim. You can go and buy a PMDG 737 and spend, in my case, $70 for it or more. And it's nice. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a nice aircraft, but it cost me $70 to buy it. Or I can go fly the 737 MAX. Is it on the same level? No. I believe that PMDG is on a step up in terms of reality or realism. But the 737 MAX is a pretty amazing aircraft. Even the 787 today, they've done some pretty amazing things with it. So yeah, I want to kind of give a state of affairs, as I see it. Raymond from Stream Gamers, as I see it. Am I frustrated with Microsoft in how they released it and what has become of it? I am, because I think they've hurt the project. I think they've hurt it. Will it survive? I believe it will, but I think they've hurt it, and it's evident that go to LAX in 2024 and go to LAX in 2020 at the same time, and you will very quickly see 2020 has got a pile of users still flying in there, and there's 2 or 3 in 2024. LAX is one of those airports that should be just bubbling with traffic, pretty much any time, more or less. But for sure, during my central time zone between 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, it should be buzzing with traffic, and it's not. And it's evident that Microsoft and Asobo have hurt the release of 2024 because of the issues that they had. My hope is that we all as simmers can relate and understand that, going back, just take 5 minutes and think to yourselves how many simulators that you have purchased over your time of doing flight simulation, and how many of those have been released which have been perfect. Not one for me. Some have had bigger blunders than the others, and here I am still flying. Why? Because it's a passion. I love it. And those that are frustrated to the point that are quitting, I feel bad for you guys. I'm sorry that you've had the experience that you've had, and I hope that there'll be a day where you will see that the project has repaired itself, and maybe you'll come back, because it's a great experience doing flight simulation. All right. I think that kind of covers the most of what I wanted to kind of talk about. It wasn't so much about a flying video. I want to make sure that people understand that what my perspective is on this, and that I hear stories often how, Microsoft 2024 has done it again. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. This doesn't work. And I'm one of them that did it. I could not figure out why I couldn't get my multiplayer to work properly. I couldn't see people. As soon as I would change the time, everybody would disappear, and I couldn't figure it out. And I blamed Microsoft and said, they've changed it. They haven't changed it. It's exactly the same as it is in 2020. Why I couldn't relate to that, why I couldn't understand that, I don't know. But I say that story because I hear this a lot. We're very quick to blame the developers. We're very quick to blame Microsoft. We're very quick to blame all of these other entities, rather than taking a look within ourselves and saying, hey, wait a minute. Could this be me? Could my navigation not be working because of something I've done? One quick story, and then we'll wrap it up. An acquaintance of mine says to me, 2024, I'm just about done with it. And I said, well, what do you mean? What's the problem? And he said, he was in 172. He says, the navigation doesn't work. The nav doesn't work. And I said, what do you mean it doesn't work? He says, it just doesn't work. I said, well, explain to me what it is that doesn't work. Like I was trying to understand, is it physically the screen wasn't turning on? What aspect of it wasn't working? And he said to me, I'm telling you, it's not working. But he would never tell me what wasn't working about it. What wasn't. He just, I guess he was so frustrated, he couldn't, explain to me what version or what part of it wasn't working. And so I said to him, well, I'm sorry you're having that experience. Where are you? So he told me which airport he was at, and I spawned in with a 172, cold and dark, started it up. I said, where are you intending to go to? He told me, and I put it into the flight plan, into the nav, and I set it all up. I turned my stream on in Discord. I showed him, and I said, I don't know what to tell you. Why isn't it working? Why, it's clearly working for me. So, help me understand what's not working. And when I showed him my stream, he simply said, oh, I'm an idiot. That's what he said. He didn't tell me what the problem was, but he said, I'm an idiot. So he had ranted and ranted and ranted that it wasn't working, rambled on that it wasn't working, when it actually was working. He forgot to do something. What it was he forgot to do, I don't know, because he never shared it with me. So I caution you all, when you're complaining about the simulator, or when you're complaining about any game for that matter, just understand there's a developer on the other end of that. His vision, his hope was to not make a shitty product, or to make a product that you were going to complain about. His, or the developer's, hope was to make a product that everybody would like. But they are human, and they are not infallible. They will make mistakes. And we just need to give them a little bit of grace and a little bit of understanding, so that when they get it fixed, because they will, hopefully, it will be marvelous. 2020 was not great out of the box. They had all kinds of bugs and issues and problems. A lot of it created by the community themselves, dumping on all these other add-ons into the community folder created by, all kinds of developers, third-rate developers such as myself, thinking we knew what we were doing. Meanwhile, we were breaking stuff. And they were blaming, the users were blaming Microsoft that it wasn't working. And it wasn't. It was the third-party creators that were breaking a lot of it. So just be patient, understand it's getting better. It's gotten way better. I can log in here. I can do a long haul flight like I normally do without issues, no crashes, no crash to the desktop. Everything works. Everything is functioning. All my controllers work. All of that is functioning and functioning fine. I can do it consistently all the time. So if you're having problems and you're not sure where the problem lies, before blaming Microsoft, please put something in the comment section. Let me know what your problem is. I may be able to help you fix it, and or get you resources to try to help you fix the problem. I certainly would love to try to help do that. So in the comment section, Raymond for Stream Gamers, give us a like if you like the content. Give us a subscribe. I'm working toward getting 500 subscribers. I realize for some people that's a pittance amount, but for me it's amazing, and you guys are all just that amazing who have helped me get to this point, and I'm hoping to get there by the end of the year. Okay, Raymond, Stream Gamers, like, comment, subscribe, all those wonderful things. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Enjoy life. Have fun. Be happy. Don't sweat the little things. The little things will take care of themselves. The big things, fix them. Do something about them if you can. If you can't, then you can't. And they will just have to be what they are. All right, that's enough for me. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye now.